Hi, it's Jen. There are so many things I have on my mind to get off my chest that have happened in just the last couple of days. So let me just give you a sense of some of the things that I want to talk about. And I have a handy dandy, I have handwriting like a serial killer, so don't mind that, but list of all the things that I just want to touch on. First, of course, is Caroline Levitt. And there's a lot to be said about her. I'll just say as a sidebar that even though I disagree completely with how she's doing the job and what she represents, I do think it's very cool that she's doing that job pregnant. I did that job pregnant at the State Department and a different version of it, but it is no joke doing that job. And so that's a sidebar. But she was caught on audio last week, and I'm going to tell you all about that in just a moment. The other thing I want to talk about is Trump in Greenland, his complete obsession, how he doesn't even really know what he's talking about. Also, of course, I'm going to talk about Gavin Newsom because there's always something he said that there is to talk about. There's Scott Bessent, who just seems like maybe he wins the award for the most completely out of touch cabinet member. And there's a lot of competition for that. I'm looking at you, Howard Lutnick, and I'm looking at you, also Kristi Noem, and many others that, road rules folks as well. Also, Brian Kilmeade, Fox News personality. And I guess if you're in his position, you have to really think of spinning hope into the minds of your viewers. And that's what he tried to do. And we're going to end it all with Melania because why not? Of course, she does have a documentary coming out. Okay, so let me start with Caroline Levitt. So much to say. And really, I do enjoy picking apart her press briefings and also the Kremlin-esque group of people that they have reshaped the briefing room into being. I mean, some still good reporters in there, but it has changed a lot. So Caroline Levitt, last week, CBS News did an interview, and Tony Dokoupil, the new host, did an interview with Donald Trump for CBS News, of course. And this comes, of course, after CBS paid off the administration back in 2024 because of an edit of a 60 Minutes piece. It was total bullshit that happened, but they did pay them off after that. And after, of course, the installation of Bari Weiss. So this was not going to be an insanely hard-hitting interview. I think it is safe to say, and it certainly was not. Yet after the interview, here is what Caroline Levitt was caught saying to Tony Dokoupil on tape.
Make sure you guys don't cut the tape. Make sure the interview is out in full.
Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah.
You said if it's not out in full, we'll sue your ass off.
So first of all, I have staffed dozens, hundreds, thousands. I have no idea how many interviews in my life, including with all these same broadcast networks. That is never a conversation I have ever heard, I've ever been a part of. I don't even think has been possible before the Trump era that we're living in. And what it tells you is so much because, first of all, that is not going to be a hard-hitting interview. It wasn't. We all saw the interview. And second, these interviews are always edited. I mean, when I worked for Barack Obama, we would do interviews of many hours long with 60 Minutes. And they would edit them down, of course, because the show, even in its totality, was 60 minutes and less when you count in all of the commercials. So 40 minutes, 42 minutes, or whatever it is. So they're always edited, which is and the evening news is 22 minutes. So of course they're typically going to be edited. Now they put out a longer transcript online and there's that, of course, and that shouldn't be edited. But it tells you a lot that the President of the United States is telling the press secretary who works for him to threaten legal action. And I love how she basically said, if it's not out in full, we'll sue your ass off. So he literally must have said that to her. And that is also quite telling. Now, why would they be in this position to threaten CBS News, who's not going to give them a really tough interview, that they're going to take legal action? Well, maybe because of things like how Trump is talking out loud. Now, he gave a cuckoo press conference at the White House on the 1-year anniversary of his time in office. And in that press conference, it was, first of all, nearly 2 hours long. They gave him a list of accomplishments on a piece of paper that had bizarre things on it. They have to work really hard to spin over there, I suppose. And he even took that piece of paper and he dropped it on the floor when he came in, which tells you everything you need to know. And then during that press conference, he was completely nonsensical and could not even articulate and sell the things that they were trying to get him to sell, I guess. Now, then the morning he's in NATO, this morning when he's at NATO, He gives a speech where everybody in the audience is waiting for him to say what he's going to do on Greenland because he's been threatening to take Greenland by force. He's been saying he wants to buy Greenland. This is the weirdest obsession. It's created this massive rip with the Europeans. It's a bizarre, strange thing. And as he's talking about Greenland, this is what he has to say.
But in doing it, I'm helping Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They called me daddy, right, the last time. A very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being. But now what I'm asking for is a piece of ice, cold and poorly located, that can play a vital role in world peace and world protection. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
There's so much to unpack there. I'm not going to even focus on the who's calling him daddy part because that is creepy and I can't unknow that or unhear it. But also, he looked like he was reading a teleprompter. Who knows if he was reading a teleprompter? Was daddy in the teleprompter, I guess I could ask. But also, it's Greenland, not Iceland, not the same country. And he repeated Iceland twice. It was a couple times. And he actually said it multiple times, times in the speech. In the speech, he also talked about windmills being losers, and he talked about sleepy Joe Biden, because obviously that's a topic that the people of NATO feel strongly about. So the point is, this guy is super confused. We've seen this repeatedly. We've seen it multiple times this week, and he just did it on the world stage. Now, what happens in response? Okay, and this is kind of an interesting part. This wasn't actually in response to this speech, but as all these world leaders are sitting there and watching, it's sort of what they've been doing for the last several months. Some of them have been outspoken. There's been a strange leaking of text messages between leaders over the past couple of days, but a number of them have been fairly quiet. They're trying to figure out how to navigate Trump. And Governor Gavin Newsom kind of called that out. I didn't really expect this. This is what he had to say about what he thinks, how he thinks the Europeans are responding.
I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. I mean, handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes, they are being given away. I mean, it's just pathetic.
Now, I loved the reporter in back of him. You could see in the second part of that, who's kind of smirking because Gavin Newsom just talked about knee pads and European leaders in the same sentence. Welcome to 2026. That is where we are at. But what he basically means there is that he feels like being acquiescing to Trump. And we've seen this with universities. We've seen this with law firms. We've seen this with Republicans is not the answer. Because you know what? If the bully takes your lunch money and you give it to him, he's just going to come back and ask for more lunch money. Some of them have started pushing back, but I thought that was interesting. Now, since he said that, which was just yesterday, they have come out. His speech was canceled. We don't know all the reasons why, but I think we kind of know the reasons why, because he just said that and was critical of Trump. And who knows what happened behind the scenes. I'm sure we will learn more in the coming days. Okay. Beyond Newsom, so let's go back to the United States, because it's not just Trump who seems to be, he's kind of meandering and hard to understand. And again, confusing Greenland and Iceland and talking about windmills being losers, which is all crazy. But you have the cabinet who's out there trying to sell what they see as economic accomplishments. Now, they're still saying tariffs are good, and everybody knows they're not good. Just ask anybody who's in rural America and on a farm or in many industries. But Scott Bessent continues to go out there and say things that are so utterly out of touch. I can't even. And what made me think of this is that he has been very critical of Newsom and was critical of Newsom as not knowing anything about the economy at Davos. Yet when Scott Bessent does an interview, he's the Treasury Secretary, about the economy, he's one of the main voices on the economy in this administration and any. Here's how he explains what's going on with how seniors are living out there.
We are going to give guidance at some point to see what is a mom and pop that someone, maybe your parents for their retirement, about 5, 10, 12 homes. So we don't want to push the mom and pops out. We just want to push everyone else out.
Okay, So if you're wondering, who is he referring to? Who has bought 5, 7, 10, whatever, 12 homes? I have no clue who he's referring to. Now, Scott Bessent himself is worth not billions, about estimates are about $521 million, still significant. He could buy some homes. I'm not sure 12 homes. I guess he could buy 12 homes. But that is how he describes helping seniors through this moment. That is one of the chief economic spokespeople in this administration, which I just can't get that moment out of my mind. Did someone tell him to say that? Was it written on a piece of paper? Did he think, it would really connect with people? Me talking about seniors who own 7, 10, 12 homes, entirely possible. I don't even know. You got to be telling yourself that despite Donald Trump confusing Greenland and Iceland and giving kind of nonsensical answers and having the Treasury Secretary of the administration out there talking about multiple homes, and there are many more examples than that you are still going to maintain control of the House and the Senate, which of course the elections are all in November. So this was one of my favorite things that somebody said on Fox News or a conservative outlet this week.
We're going to have a natural disaster. We're going to have an unexpected foreign policy situation. Something's going to happen economically that has nothing to do with Republicans and Democrats. And it's going to give both sides a chance to act or react. And that's going to change the game entirely.
Don't worry, everybody. There's going to be a huge hurricane or a war. And then if one of those things happens, let's hope for that, because Republicans will maintain control of Congress. That is where we are. Now, to be fair, there's a long way to go between now and November. Not to be fair, but just because there's a lot that Democrats need to do too. And they're going to have to fight to gain control of Congress. Democrats will. But if you have one of the chief commentators on Fox News suggesting that maybe if there's a hurricane or a war, Republicans will maintain control, that is really telling you something about the moment that we are living in currently. Okay, last thing. I've got lots of things on my mind, but just last thing for now is Melania Trump. And there's so much to be said. I still haven't gotten over the jacket she wore many years ago. I'm sure you haven't either. But she has a documentary that is coming out in the end of the month. Now, this documentary, I'm just checking my notes here, Amazon paid $40 million for this documentary, which is far more than they would pay for a documentary of this sort. And there's been lots of analysis of that particular thing. And before it was announced, Jeff Bezos, of course, dined at Mar-a-Lago because, as one does, why do you think he's purchasing a documentary about Melania Trump? I don't think he thinks it's because it's going to sell off the shelves. This is one of those, it's like a more expensive giving of a gold trophy thing. I think if we pay him for this documentary or pay his wife, she'll be happy and feel good about it, and then we'll be in his good graces and can ask for things we want, like tax cuts somewhere or loopholes or whatever it is that Jeff Bezos may want. Now, there's still time before this comes out, but it seems that tickets are not exactly flying off the shelves, and that takes just a mere checking of, say, whether there are still available tickets in Palm Beach, which we did, what they're looking like in New York. Maybe that's not the best market for it, but they are not flying off the shelves. And if you wonder, maybe Melania might have some interesting things to say. Well, of all of the clips of the whole documentary that they could play, that they could pick to get people buzzed and excited about this movie, here is one of the clips that they decided to put out.
Hi, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Did you watch it?
I did not. Yeah, I will see it on the news.
Okay. So, again, that gives you just a feeling of buzz, excitement, inside detail. She didn't even watch her husband's speech. I guess that's the news development from that. But you always pick a clip that is going to generate excitement, buzz, and that's the one they picked, which I think is quite telling. We'll see how the Melania Trump, how the documentary does, but I'm not betting it's flying off the shelves. But maybe Jeff Bezos gets something from it. With that, that's all I got for today.